Service connection for asthma denied. That's the topic of today's discussion, and we're going to deep dive into a decision letter. And it's really important to read the words and understand what they say. So that's why we're going to hop in here and get deep undercover. Check out my boot camp. If you want to learn more about the VA claims process, you can check that out at combatcraig.com. And if you have an appeal and you need a disability lawyer, you might want to check out hillandponton.com. Let's go over to this decision letter here. Got a little, oh, my mouse isn't showing up. Okay. So service connection for asthma. Service connection may be granted for a disability which began in military service or was caused by some event or experience in service. The evidence shows that the asthma existed prior to service. That means it's a pre-existing condition. There must be objective evidence of worsening of a pre-existing condition in order to establish service connection by aggravation. There's no evidence that the condition permanently worsened as a result of service. These are the laws. I'm just going to tell you what the problems are, but I encourage you to read these laws. 38 CFR 3.303, 38 CFR 3.304, 38 CFR 3.306, and then 3.303 is down here again. So this is basically they're saying it wasn't the active duty service didn't work, and they use the word aggravation here because that is the word. There's caused by your active duty service or aggravated by. So if you go in with a pre-existing condition, you want to use the word aggravated by. So, where did this happen? You went to MEPS and they picked it up there. So when you went to MEPS and they gave you all the paperwork, were you the one that put asthma and you just checked the box? Because if that's the only medical evidence they have, that itself doesn't qualify because you're a veteran. You can't just check boxes to diagnose yourself. We can't do that on DBQs, and we can't speak to diagnosis because we're layman veterans. But on the flip side of that coin, we also cannot diagnose ourselves on a pre-existing condition. So it's quite possible that they're just, pencil whipping through this. And you're the only person, your subjective complaint of asthma was the only way it got into a medical record in the very first place. So you're not competent to provide a diagnosis. A doctor needs to do that stuff. Service connection for asthma is denied since this condition neither occurred in nor was caused by service. And this is the aggravation. The key word here that you need to use in your supplemental claim and a personal statement along with it, which I would actually upgrade to a sworn declaration instead of filling out VA Form 214138. I would do a sworn declaration and I would use the words aggravated by. So a disability which began in service was caused by some event in service must be considered chronic before service connection can be granted. Although there is a record of treatment in service for asthma, no permanent residual or chronic disability subject to service connection is shown by the service medical records or demonstrated by evidence following service. Therefore, service connection for asthma is denied. Again, 38 CFR 3.303. So they're spelling it out. You're lacking medical evidence. That's what these laws cover. You're having problems. You have a diagnosis, possibly, or maybe you don't even have one. It sounds like you at least have a diagnosis. The symptoms are a problem, I think, for you. And then the nexus for sure is a problem. And which brings us to paragraph 3. The VA medical opinion found no link between your diagnosed medical condition and military service. When they say found no link, that's the nexus. This nexus, that's the nexus link. You could get it in a nexus letter from a doctor, but the nexus needs to exist. So in your case, when you're fighting this, now you do need a nexus letter because clearly it doesn't exist. You didn't bring that forward, and they either couldn't find it or you just didn't file it with a nexus. All good. There's a way to appeal this, and we're just looking through these words. And you can. This is how you need to look at this stuff. You need to look for these words because they're tricky with these, which is why lawyers and stuff get involved in the appeals process because they know how to read these words all day long. I'm kind of finding out that I'm getting pretty good at it myself. The VA contract examiner opined the claimed condition, which clearly and unmistakably existed prior to service, was clearly and unmistakably not granted beyond its natural progression by an in-service event, injury, and illness. That is a very strong rationale statement. Clear and unmistakable error. It's a Q claim. It's a very strong series of words put together if you're familiar with Qs. So he's kind of coming at it like this is clearly and unmistakably something that existed, and clearly it was not aggravated by your active duty service. Where's he getting that from? I'm wondering. And that's kind of what sucks because he's a dickhead C&P examiner and he can opine because he is a doctor. The VA contractor's examiner's rationale is as follows. There is no documentation in the veteran's available medical records indicating that the veteran suffered any flare-ups or injuries that worsened, aggravated, or altered the natural progression of her pre-existing asthma, as the symptoms the veteran complained of during her military career are consistent with the natural progression of her pre-existing condition. Hence, it was less likely than not, those are the killer words you don't want on a C&P exam report, that the veteran's pre-existing asthma was aggravated beyond its natural progression. So this guy's going on even further. This guy's going in deep. This guy's a real dick. So he's going on and saying, oh, yeah, she was in for 2 or 3 years, and now she's saying she's like this. Oh, that's totally natural. When you go from being 22 to 25, you go way down the tubes, and you're just completely fucked. That's basically what he's saying. Then the VA comes in, and they do this. And I know you guys look at this. Wow, I have favorable findings. How could this possibly be denied? This is like throwing you a bone. There's nothing in the favorable findings that I'm looking at in front of me that are going to help at all. Favorable findings identified in this decision. The claimed issue existed prior to service. That doesn't help. Or it doesn't matter, but it's not addressed properly. VA contract examination conducted by QTC Medical Services show diagnosis for asthma dated May 19, 2021. So the diagnosis exists. The symptoms, that's up in the air. Again, I don't have all the information, but we're just going through the practice of reading a nexus letter. They clearly say no nexus. So this does not help. This QTC exam is just fucking your claim up. So this is not favorable at all. The claimed issue was treated during military service. Service treatment records from San Diego show complaint and treatment for mild intermittent asthma, uncomplicated on October 13, 2020. So this speaks to, again, this is kind of in that squishy law department, but we don't go complain about stuff. Like I don't have asthma. I'm sure it sucks. You had it. You got into the service and all that kind of stuff. And you had complaints because you didn't want to be a complainer, right? So you underreported your symptoms, and the VA rater is glomming onto that and chucking that against you. Again, not really favorable findings. And at the bottom here, the claimed issue existed prior to military service. Service treatment records, ROTC entrance exam show complaint for asthma. So that's not really favorable either. So course of action here that I would do, go get a independent medical opinion from your private doctor, and you need your doctor to rebut this whole thing. Like, where did you come up with this, whole scenario of aggravate, pre-existing? Where'd that come from? Where's that diagnosis? You need to go get your VA claims file as well, but your doctor needs to challenge this and hammer this doctor. So that's probably the best way you could do it. There's always multiple ways to do things like this. But this is a deep dive into decision letters, and let me know in the comments if this makes sense and if you want me to do more of these, because if you're like me and you're trying to understand the process and how it applies to you, for me, just when I saw stuff about my disabilities, I was kind of learning about them, and this made sense. So I want to start reading more decision letters. So if you have them, redact them and send them on over. And maybe I'll show up here on the old Combat Craig channel. So check out my boot camp if you want to learn more about the VA claims process at combatcraig.com. And I'll see you in the next video.